Welcome back, YouTube. Today we're going to make risotto. I am going to show you how to make a classic dish that you see on many a Hell's Kitchen episode with Gordon Ramsay.
You don't cook risotto. Urgent risotto, please. Delicious. Another burnt risotto.
They always seem to have it on every season, and for good reason, because it is absolutely delicious. I'm going to make a butternut squash one. It's going to be absolutely delicious because I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make it nice and creamy and al dente. And we'll give it a nice little garnish too. So stick around, I'll show you those tips and tricks. This one is going to be delicious. Let's go.
So we're going to start by finely dicing one onion. You can use a schlop. An onion works just fine in this recipe. Make sure you dice it as fine as you can because you don't want chunky bits of onion in your risotto because it won't look good and it won't taste good either. Trust me on this one. Okay, once you have your onions nicely finely chopped, get a wide pan and melt 30 grams of unsalted butter and then put in your onions. It's important to use a wide pan here because you want your risotto to cook evenly. Sweat these down for 5 minutes. Do not brown them or color them. You just want to keep them this kind of color all the way through. So I'm going to use carnaroli for my risotto rice. The other two main ones used are violoni and arborio, and the difference is the types of starches that they release. There's an inner starch and an outer starch, amylopectin and amylose, and different ones will give you different results. My preferred one is always carnaroli because I find arborio overcooks easily and gets a little bit stodgy. But just follow the same steps with whatever rice you have and adjust accordingly. Now you're going to toast that rice off in that butter for about 2 minutes until it's nicely coated and toasty. Then add in some nice dry white wine. I've added about 80 mils here. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit over. Cook that off until it has evaporated. And then we're going to start putting in ladle by ladle hot stock. Now the key to a good risotto is a good quality stock. So I'm using chicken stock. Recipe for that on the website. You've seen me make that before. And have a bit of patience. Keep it on a low heat. Add a ladleful at a time. Do not drown the risotto. Keep stirring it. The starch is going to release and it's going to absorb all that wonderful stock. This is the classic way to make risotto. Every cook should know how to make it this way rather than some of the new modern techniques which basically just bung everything in a pot and boil it up. Now I'm just going to give it a little taste at this stage and I just want to make sure that the grain is cooked. It's got a little bit of bite to it, al dente, but I don't want it to be chalky and raw inside. So I can add a little bit more stock if I need to. You don't always need to use up all the stock, so bear that in mind. The whole process is going to take you about 14 to 17 minutes until the rice is kind of plump, looks really nice, translucent, and then at that stage you want to turn off the heat and let it sit for a good minute. It's really important to let the risotto relax for a minute at this stage. So meanwhile, I will pick my garnish, some parsley leaves and some arugula rocket and toasted pumpkin seeds, and I will dress that later. Then I'm going to put in 100 grams of butternut squash puree, recipe for that on the website. Mix that through nice and thoroughly to get a beautiful color, and we are going to do a stage to the risotto known as the mantecatura, which basically makes it nice and creamy. So we're going to add 45 grams of finely grated Parmesan cheese, vigorously beat that in. Like I said before, this is known as the mantecatura stage. Love saying that word. And then put in 30 grams of cold butter bit by bit and really whip it in. This is going to emulsify and make it nice and creamy risotto, aka mantecatura. Once you've whipped that butter in nicely, then you're going to give it a little taste just to check how the seasoning is. I know this is going to need a little bit of salt and a little bit of white pepper. Make sure you get it in the pan there, chef. Give that all a good mix around. And what you're looking for is like this lava-like texture consistency. So when I run my spoon through, you can just see it oozes back, ripples in the pan. That is a beautiful texture for risotto. You can make them a bit soupy depending on the type of ingredients you want, but for this, that's perfect. Now dress your garnish with a bit of olive oil, some pepper, splash of sherry vinegar, a little bit of maple syrup. I'm going to mix that through and gently massage the leaves so they pick up all that lovely flavor. And then I'm going to put my risotto into my bowl. Use a shallow bowl. Put enough in for a nice portion. You can just see it oozing there into that bowl. Very nice. Give it a little swirl round and a little tap, and this just flattens out your risotto. And now I'm going to put my garnish over the top, which represents the fallen leaves of fall, autumn, if you're back in England. Get a bit creative. You can even put roasted butternut squash if you want to as well. And then I'm going to put some shavings of lovely aged Parmesan over the top. And there you have a beautiful butternut squash risotto, my friends. Very luxurious indeed.
And there we have it. Lovely butternut squash risotto. Look at that. Let's get into this. Cheers. Lovely, creamy, nice little bite to the rice. That's the joy of using carnaroli rice. Say that with a mouthful of risotto. It holds its shape really well. Absolutely delicious. Absolutely banging. A risotto is one of those things, you can add whatever you want to it. Get creative, mushrooms, seafood, whatever you want to do. Don't go too crazy. And any leftovers you can turn into arancini, which is basically risotto balls stuffed with a bit of cheese or meat. Lovely. Right. Give this one a go. It's a perfect time of year for it. If you like this recipe and you want to see some more content, then please like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one.